Kia ora everybody, welcome to the ACE RMO 2024 New Plymouth webinar. My name is Georgina, I'm the ACE RMO consultant. We're going to start off with the opening karakia and then I'll give everyone a brief outline of today's webinar.
Taua mai I runga, tu taua mai I raro, tu tua mai I roto, tu tua mai I waho, kia tau ai te mauritu, te mauri ora, kia te katoa, haumi e, hui e, tai iki e.
Thank you, Jonathan. So thank you to everyone for joining today's webinar. We'll move on to the panelists' introductions very shortly. During this webinar, we will have a video to share with you guys and a presentation presented by our panelists. And then our RMO representatives will tell you a bit more about their experiences at New Plymouth Hospital and share any tips for you. Towards the end of the webinar, we will have a live Q&A session. So remember to drop your questions in the Q&A chat box below. You can do this right now if you have a burning question, but the questions will only be answered towards the end of the session.
Well, Jonathan Takawingawa, I'm an intensive care specialist, anaesthetist and director of clinical training in Taranaki.
Kia ora, I'm Abby Osborne and I'm the RMO unit manager here in Taranaki.
Hi, I'm Taryn Kenny and I'm the RMO education administrator and I look after the year 5 and 6 medical students.
Kia ora, ko Olivia Tukuingawa no Otatahi Aho. My name's Olivia, I'm from Christchurch and I'm a first year house officer here in Namotu, New Plymouth.
Kia ora, ko Josh Tukuingawa no Taranaki Aho. I'm also a PGY1 house officer here in Taranaki.
Cool, thank you. Lovely to meet you all. Now I'm going to share the video.
The community that the DHB looks after is over 100,000 people, and the whole purpose of the DHB is to improve the health of that community. The 3 roles of the DHB would be 1, the PHO services, your GP, 2, your community services where people come into your home, it might be home help, home care, district nursing, and the 3rd thing of course is the hospital where you've got your emergency department, your acute care and your elective services where we might plan an operation for you and you'll receive that. Our province has got 1 major city which is buzzing, modern, and then we've got a rural area, quite a large rural mass. So we've got a base hospital, we've also got a rural hospital and 4 health centres which accommodates the whole population. We've got 1,700 staff working here at the DHB. We're extremely welcoming, we've got a multicultural staff and we're reported to be very supportive.
The working environment and the culture here at the emergency department in Taranaki is one of great cooperation. Everybody works extremely hard.
The culture here is probably one of the best things about working at Taranaki DHB. Everyone knows each other's names. We all hang out socially as well with the other multidisciplinary team members like the physiotherapists and occupational therapists. Everyone knows everyone.
I chose to come back to Taranaki for a number of different reasons. Because I had worked here as a registrar and as a house surgeon, and I knew the environment in the region and I fell in love with the place and with the area around the hospital. To be quite honest, work is work, you can do it anywhere. The region is what drew me back.
It's just a beautiful place. I may be biased, but I just love Taranaki. It's got everything. It meets a whole lot of different people's needs and hobbies.
Taranaki is a very special place for me. I was brought up in Taranaki, I'm local. Working for the hospital here is great because I'm challenged professionally, and when I leave work I can go and look at the mountain, I can go climb the mountain, I can go surfing, I can go swimming. Good cafe scene, lots of good restaurants. It's just an exciting place to be.
You know, as a family, when we were sort of decided to take a leap and go work overseas and give the family an opportunity to go live in another country. We've never been to New Zealand, none of us have been to New Zealand, but we've heard quite good things and it looked like there was job opportunities at that time, so it looked like a perfect match for us.
We like to make sure that people in our community get the highest level of service that would be state-of-the-art machinery, that would be good staff, that will be working really hard to ensure that your healthcare needs are met.
We've got some quite modern equipment. We have a PAC system. We have a digital theatre built in that is routinely available for my use. We have very good laparoscopic equipment, which is mainly my field, laparoscopic bowel surgery. The staff around me are very good.
The quality of the facilities are great now that we've got the new wards and the new hospital. It's just a nice environment to work in, and I think the patients and the visitors really enjoy coming here and seeing what we've got on offer.
I think that for people coming to work in the DHB, we have got such a pride in Taranaki and in our DHB. We're a friendly, welcoming culture that wants people to come and work with us, and we want to show our whole province and our health system off. So I think really it's a lovely place to work.
That was a lovely video. I'm sure our participants are very excited to know more. Now I'm going to move on to the presentation now.
Welcome along to our webinar. Hopefully we can convince you to apply for a job here. What do you guys like about Taranaki the most?
I like how easy it is to spend time in the outdoors. Like just in the weekend, I went for a bike ride with my flatmates along the waterfront path, and it's only 500 metres from our flat.
For me, Taranaki is home, so it's pretty special to me, but I agree with what Liv said. Like, I think there are some pretty incredible parks and facilities. There's the beach, the mountain. Like, you can't sort of get that kind of combo deal in many other places within such proximity, especially to where you live and work. So I love being home.
But it's a nice city where we live and work. And it's that if you want a mid-level hospital, it's perfect in that it's caters for about 130,000 people, has a range of specialties, and has full registrar cover, full consultant cover, and takes between 13 and 15 PGY1s every year. To us, the most important thing is the cover letter that you write. What we're looking for is people that we think will really enjoy being here and have a good year and be well supported. So if you, in your cover letter, write, reasons you'd like to move here, it's very easy for us to see you getting the most out of the region. A minority of applicants have family here, and we know that people who are from the region who come back to the region are more likely to be long-term staff in the region. But you can definitely have not been here before, but if we can see you, thriving here, then we're more likely to give you a job than if we read their cover letter and we think, I can't see how they'd be happy here or why they'd want to come here, because we want the people that really want to be here, and we'll have a great year here. We try to be really fair with our scoring sheets, so we have about 5 or 6 people go through the ACE match ranking, and we all find the people that we think are the people that would really thrive here, and then we go through it as a group and try to come up with a really fair, unbiased way to rank people, and you'll get more points if you have a great cover letter.
Any queries you can send direct to me on the email address that you see on the screen. Also, Taryn's a great contact for anyone with any questions. And you can also contact our RMO coordinators, which are rmo_coordinator@tdhb.org.nz. But yeah, if you have any questions after this or leading up to the process, then please just reach out to any of us.
So we're now on our second quarter of being a house officer, and I think we've both really enjoyed our experience. It's definitely been challenging, but I think that would be challenging wherever you go, and the things that have made it easier, sort of alluded to in that video as well, is a super supportive team around you. The registrars are very approachable, as well as the SMOs. It's a very collaborative environment, and it's an awesome space to be in. You don't spend hours in traffic after work getting home. You can get home and relax straight away in a beautiful environment.
Yeah, I think for me, like, I've really loved coming home this year. I did 5th year placement here, and then as a trainee intern, I was in a much bigger centre. And I think there's been a huge, like, stark difference in just the amount of time I have to enjoy life and to do things after work and to see people after work, and like the cognitive burden of not having to plan where to park or how to drive, or, what my commute's going to be home and whether there's going to be trains cancelled or this, that, the other. Like, it's just so much smoother and more simple here. And especially like, you know, within 5-10 minutes drive, there are so many trails or walks, or, you know, Pukakura Park, the coastal walkway, just so many things around that I just think create a really good balance for me that I've been very much enjoying since I've been here as I've started my year. I've also really enjoyed this sort of small, tight-knit staffing. Like, I feel like most registrars and seniors are quite familiar to me now, so I feel like I could ask people for help when I'm working clinically. So if I'm not sure about something, people are much more familiar and much more personal, so I can, you know, text and ask questions, or call them up quite easier because I know who people are, and I feel like I've got good personal relationships or even friendships with a lot of my seniors.
There's also a great coffee culture here. Shout out to Paula, who makes the best coffees and remembers your coffee orders, so you don't even need to tell her what you drink.
Oh, thank you. Is there anything else you wanted to add in terms of the orientation week and any of the other support?
So we do a full week's orientation, which includes like a structured program with about 3 days of clinical teaching, familiarization with hospital systems. People who've been here as a trainee intern or a fifth year, they already know the systems, but we get a reasonable number of people who haven't worked here before. So there's also resuscitation training. There's the last day of the orientation program is buddied up so that you spend the day just following around the house officer, finishing the run that you're about to start the next week. And there's a MRI visit as well. So that's a week full of activities.
And I think in particular this year, Josh was great at organising some extracurricular activities during orientation week.
I think, yeah, one thing about our cohort in particular this year, like we're all pretty connected and we're pretty social together. So it's been quite nice, like after work, and not just in O week, but also like kind of most weeks, you know, we see each other most weekends. The general medicine department organised a bowling and laser tag night, and I think we had about 3 different events, and we had a games night. What else did we do?
Food truck.
We did go to the food truck and the Festival of Lights, which was pretty beautiful as well. But quite a few of us went to WOMAD, which is the big festival on. There's a lot of, like, Taranaki has a really good arts and culture scene, which I think people really underestimate for what is often perceived as a small provincial town. Like, there's a lot of festivals, arts going on. The show place does an incredible show every year. It's like near Broadway standard to boast of them. Really good cafes here. We get coffee a lot.
And there's what, 20 Indian takeaway stores in Taranaki.
That is probably true.
Yeah, lots of multicultural food.
Excellent. Okay, I'm just going to go back to the slides.
So the meals, what do you guys think? Are the meals good?
They hit the spot when you're hungry, for sure.
Yeah.
They had the caramel walnut brownie on today, so I was pretty happy. Yeah, no, there's usually like multiple different options, reasonably accommodating for different dietary requirements. There's like vegetarian sushi or vegetarian sandwiches available. There's vegan meals from a freezer that you can warm up that are quite high quality and nice. There's, I think, a pretty decent variety of things that you can get from our cafe, and the cafe staff are real friendly as well. So that makes it quite fun to go down for lunch.
How much is rent? I'm a homeowner, so I don't know what rent is in this town. Do you guys
Pretty
rent?
cheap. 150.
Yeah, I'm 180.
Yeah.
What's that, for a house or a room?
Room.
For
That would be about, yeah.
It's about $700 to $800 a week, I think, for like a 3 to 4 bedroom house. Probably 3 bedroom house.
Yeah.
Like my living costs have just phenomenally decreased since working here this year. Cost of living here is just, it's very easy to save for exciting holidays. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and try not to use the hospital accommodation if you do come here. I wouldn't recommend that. But every year there'll be house officers and registrars leaving, so there'll be a fair turnover of rental accommodation. Cool. After hours roster, 1 long day per week, unless doing the weekend. It's fair.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
You can't do nights in your first quarter. Only do nights in your second quarter if you did medicine in your first quarter.
Exactly.
So do surgery in your first quarter.
Oh, before we move on to the questions, is there anything you would like to add about just any tips or anything about the runs, anything in particular?
I think one thing I'd add is if you come visit us or you make contact and you make inquiries about what it's like in Taranaki, you get more points in terms of whether you're likely to score highly on our rankings. And not many people do that. So I just, as a bit of generic advice, would be the hospital you really want to go to. You should definitely go visit that hospital, even if you haven't worked there.
Oh no, I was just going to say another massive perk about working here as a house officer is that if you're having to do overtime, you do get paid additionals, which is very, very rare. And so although you sometimes have really busy weeks, it feels a lot better that that's acknowledged, and that's quite rare in other hospitals. So I appreciate that a lot.
I think that makes, I was going to comment on that too. Like, I think, so it's not very common. I've now learned that most other hospitals don't get unrostered overtime, which is something we're eligible for here. And I think most of the time I do finish on time, which I enjoy about being here. But on days where, like, there just will be days where your workload is big, and rather than sort of feeling like you're having to stay super late and that's not being compensated, like, I think we have a pretty happy working environment because we feel like our time's like respected and valued. Like when we do have days where our gen med team list is slightly longer because we post weekend or we post take on a general surgery team, and it just naturally just runs a little bit and there's more to do for patients. So it kind of means that we can stay and do more and feel like it's okay because that's going to be included in like how we get paid. So I think a lot of us feel really happy working here because of that, and I think it makes a huge difference in our workplace culture.
Just to add to that, there is a certain amount of unrostered overtime factored into each run. But if you go over that, then that's the overtime that these guys are talking about that gets paid.
And we're pretty generous in terms of what we'll allow non-training registrars to go do for CME activities. Like you can't do everything, but say you're a PGY2 and you want to do a diploma, we pay for that. If you want to go to 2 courses, we pay for that. Probably wouldn't pay for you to go to America or China or something, but we would pay for your travel and accommodation to a New Zealand-based training, especially if you said, I have to do these courses to get my reg position next year. We generally pay for those things.
I also feel like as well, another thing probably people might be wondering is annual leave. I feel like nobody really has issues getting leave approved here. I think it's worthwhile planning in advance and just booking things, and then you can always cancel. So actually booking your leave and using the leave that you get is a good idea, but like leave doesn't suit, like it's not very common for leave to get declined here. Most people get pretty good balance and well-being and time away and stuff when they want it. And if there is a reason to decline, there's usually a good reason, and the RMO unit usually always comes and like chats to us about it, and we'll discuss it with us and find a solution with us personally, because the RMO unit knows most of us personally. So it's pretty easy to get holidays. I went to Melbourne in Q1, it was pretty nice. So.
Yeah, we do work hard on that, and we give people short notice mental health leave if they need it, but we make sure we follow that with a support package. And let's say you've made like a mistake or you failed a year at university or something, and if you wrote in your cover letter, this happened and this is what I learned from it and this is how I changed, and you can see from my performance since then, like we'd rank that as a really high cover letter, as we'd say, well, that person's got character and integrity. And sometimes we'd sort of see someone who looks like they just need a break, and Taranaki might be quite a good break for them, and so we'll offer out jobs to people who might have told themselves they're not likely to get a job. We try to look past the short-term stuff.
Perfect, thank you. I was just going to add about the ACE ranking. So the way the algorithm works, it does prioritize the applicant's ranking as the top priority, and then the second priority is the district's ranking. So agree with Jonathan, if you really, really want to go to New Plymouth, then you should be ranking it your number 1. let's move on to the questions. So I've got a couple of questions here. How does the interview process work?
We don't actually do interviews. I think there's a couple of times where we've read someone's letters and CVs and we've thought we just need to talk to them. And so sometimes we'll interview a small number of people. But you know, a lot of people who are applying for a job here, from here, worked here, know people here, write really good cover letters, because we tend to take people that write really good cover letters. And so we think we understand why they want to come here. But sometimes we will interview people just to clarify a few things that we're not sure about in their CVs or in their cover letters. But we don't routinely interview 20 or 30 people.
It's not like a set formal interview. Most of the
No.
time, it's more just having connecting via Zoom and having a bit of a chat about things to get a better understanding. And
especially if they look like they might be a person who needs more support, or you know, and we're trying to get an idea of whether we can provide that support or whether this place would be a good match for them. But yeah, we're not looking for people with straight A+ grades particularly. That's not really what we think would work here.
That's great. Thank you very much. Do you allow late starters?
Well, we have done that.
We have done, especially if we have gaps in our run allocation. We took on last year, we took two PGY ones in Q2 and Q3. And they were international students that didn't get placed first round, and then we had some gaps come up, so we offered to them. If you, by late starters, if you mean you want some leave at the start of the year before you come on board, then it's just something that you need to speak about, and we'd evaluate it on a case-by-case basis, I think.
Yeah, and we have had scenarios where someone has had to do 3 extra months at med school or something like that, or we've had scenarios where someone's having time off to have a baby. And we have accommodated that sort of stuff before.
You just first thing is to put that in your cover letter.
That's great, thank you. We've got no more questions, but I actually have a question myself. This is a very common one that I get in my ACE inbox. Are there any disadvantages if the applicants have 2 references from the same run?
No.
I think we generally score on the content of the reference. I guess it would be something again that we'd look at on a case by case, but we understand that sometimes it's really hard to get references in time and off the right people.
Yeah, and like we do see like an enormous number of references coming from GPs and psychiatrists or obstetricians, even though we can see that person's not interested in those careers, and we understand that's because that's what they did in the half year while they were applying for their ACE match. It's just the way the system works.
Perfect, thank you. I think we've got no more questions, but if you guys have any further questions, you're welcome to drop me an email or contact New Plymouth directly if it's regarding working at the hospital. We will now close off with a closing karakia.
Unuhia, 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 ke te uru tapanui, kia wātia, ki māma, ki nākau, te tinana, te wairua, I te ara tangata, koia rā e rongo, whakauria aki ki runga, kia tina, puia, tai kia.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely evening.